On the day of our engagement ceremony, a scholarship student Timothy had been sponsoring Burst in holding a medical diagnosis. She had leukemia. He immediately took off the engagement ring, wrapped his arm around her shoulder, and left, leaving me standing alone in the middle of the hall. That same evening, she posted a photo on her Moments of Timothy feeding her medicine, with the caption, "With you by my side, I'm not afraid of anything." Then Timothy sent me a long message, "She's suffered so much. If I had found her sooner, maybe she wouldn't have fallen ill at such a young age. The doctor says she only has 6 months left." She cried and begged me to stay by her side through the end. How could I possibly say no? If you get lonely during this time, it's okay to find someone to keep you company, just keep me in your heart. Oh. And don't come to see her. Her emotions are unstable. If her condition worsens because of you, I'll never forgive you. When I didn't respond, he sent another line, "Let's talk about rescheduling the wedding once her condition stabilizes." Back then, for the sake of his pride, I had hidden the fact that I was the sole heir of the Serena family. I ate instant noodles with him, squeezed into crowded subways. And now, he treats me like a spare tire he can call on or discard at will. I turned around, took out my phone, and without hesitation dialed Cyrus. "Cyrus, I've thought it over. I agree to the marriage alliance you mentioned." On the other end of the phone, Cyrus couldn't suppress the smile tugging at his lips, though he still spoke with feigned impatience. "Serena, you're not just calling me because you got hurt, are you? Let's get one thing straight, Cyrus. Don't do last-minute fake boyfriend gigs." There was a 2-second silence on my end. His heart suddenly skipped. Was I backing out? Then my voice came through, proud and clear, "Fine, I'll just call the Chen family then." Cyrus exploded, "Don't you dare." Realizing he had overreacted, he forced himself to calm down and snorted coldly, "I have a race in Switzerland. I'll be back in 3 days to register the marriage." The corners of my lips lifted slightly. Deal. Back at home, I was packing when I heard voices in the living room. "Timothy, isn't this inappropriate? This is Serena's home." Yuri's voice was timid. Timothy's voice was filled with reassurance. "A married woman has no home to return to. This is my apartment, just stay here without worry." He had brought her directly into our home, so eagerly, so shamelessly. He used to say this apartment was meant just for the two of us. He even refused to let my cousin visit once, saying it was our private space. And now Yuri sat nervously on the very couch we picked out together. When I entered, Timothy looked at me, his brows furrowing deeper and deeper. "The engagement's off. Do you really need to dress so extravagantly? Do you know how many years Yuri wears the same clothes? Are you deliberately trying to provoke a poor, sick girl? The doctor said she needs emotional stability right now. Can't you be a little more compassionate and not act like a shallow, materialistic girl?" This was the man I had loved for 5 years. To suit his taste for modesty, I rarely wore anything flashy around him. If it hadn't been for our engagement today, I wouldn't have worn this at all. But now, he was calling me materialistic because of a girl he just started sponsoring? When he failed in business, I anonymously gave him $500,000 yuan. I deleted the transfer records so he wouldn't lose face. Now thinking about it, how laughable it all was. I crossed my arms. So what? I need to dress according to her feelings now? Yuri began to cry softly. "Timothy, please don't argue with my sister." Timothy panicked. He patted her back, trying to soothe her. How ridiculous. For 5 years, every time we fought, he knew all I needed was a simple "I'm sorry." But he'd rather watch me lose sleep all night than say it. And the next day, he'd coldly ask, still mad, as if I was the unreasonable one. Now, Yuri sheds 2 tears and he's acting like the sky is falling. I turned to leave, but Timothy suddenly grabbed my wrist. "Serena, haven't you made enough of a scene? Apologize to Yuri. Now. The moment he gripped my wrist tightly, a sharp pain flared across my skin. He knew my skin was sensitive. Even a scratch could leave a scar. He used to panic when my skin turned red, searching frantically for ointment. Now, he barely glanced at my arm. Stop being dramatic. Can't you be more understanding? Understanding? 5 years. I hadn't been understanding enough? When he worked overtime, I didn't disturb him. When he had business dinners, I didn't question him. Even when he went on business trips alone with female clients, I just smiled and told him to take care. And now, he expects me to stand by and watch him care for another woman with understanding. I suddenly jerked my arm away from him. Why? He took a step forward, the pressure in his gaze palpable. Because you're wearing clothes Yuri can't afford, and it irritates me. I laughed coldly. Timothy, do you think I can't live without you? His eyes flickered for a moment, then he sneered. Do I need to remind you? Who used to brave the snow every day to bring me lunch? Who begged me to date her after I rejected her 3 times? Who kept sending long messages saying she couldn't live without me? Yes, I had once loved him so much, swallowing my grievances again and again. But now, those moments where I gave him my heart had become the cheapest jokes in his mouth. I stared at him, speaking slowly and clearly, I won't apologize. He saw this and immediately pinned my shoulders. My knee slammed into the floor, and pain clouded my vision. Yuri pretended to help me. Timothy, please don't do this. But Timothy shoved her away, coldly ordering, don't speak for her. If she doesn't learn respect today, she'll never understand. From now on, you will take care of Yuri's daily needs. Serve her tea, make her meals, and help her with her medicine. Don't miss a single thing. As soon as he finished speaking, Yuri yawned dramatically. Timothy, I'm a little tired. Timothy immediately caressed her head tenderly, then turned to me, his tone icy. Go run a basin of foot bath water for Yuri. Make sure it's the right temperature, don't burn her. I turned and went to the bathroom. When I returned, Yuri was sitting on the couch, deliberately stretching out her feet. Serena, you're such a big help. I smiled faintly. It's no trouble. The next second, I splashed the entire basin of hot water onto her. Yuri screamed and jumped up, her skin instantly turning red from the heat. Timothy instantly flew into a rage. He grabbed my hair and dragged me into the bathroom. Cold water poured over me, making me shudder violently. Are you crazy? Now go to the balcony and think about your actions. He slammed the balcony door shut. Soaked to the bone, I shivered in the cold outside. Inside, Timothy was on one knee, carefully drying Yuri's toes with a towel. He even kissed the soles of her feet as if he couldn't get enough. I suddenly remembered that time when I was on my period and asked him to help me with a hot foot soak. He had refused, saying with distaste, do it yourself. I have a cleanliness obsession. But now, he was on his knees, willingly tending to another woman. So his obsession with cleanliness was only for me. At that moment, Yuri leaned up to Timothy's collar, speaking in a soft voice just for my ears to hear. Do you know what Timothy whispered in my ear just now? He said you're as boring as a log. I looked at her coldly, get lost. She immediately screamed, falling backward. When Timothy rushed in, she raised her flushed wrist. Timothy, Serena didn't mean to. His eyes turned cold. Serena, have you had enough? Before I could speak, he grabbed my wrist and dragged me toward the bedroom. You pushed Yuri and spilled the milk. Now I'll destroy the things you love. He stormed into my closet, grabbed my bag, and threw it against the wall. This trash, enough to cover Yuri's living expenses for half a year. Do you know how much money you wasted? It could have paid for her chemotherapy sessions. He swept the skincare products off the vanity, sending bottles and jars crashing to the floor. I stood there, trembling all over. Everything he called trash were things I bought with my own money. I had never mentioned the price in front of him to spare his fragile ego. And now, for a scammer, he was destroying all the things I cherished. Timothy, exhausted from his outburst, turned to look at me, breathing heavily. Do you realize your mistake now? Just then, Yuri's breakdown echoed from behind us. Timothy rushed to comfort her but stopped when he saw the message on her phone. He grabbed my neck. Serena. Did you post that video online? He shoved the phone in front of me. The video showed Yuri and Timothy tangled together in the living room. The comments were full of curses. These days, even mistresses are this bold? Pretending to be sick and poor to steal a man? Timothy's voice was low, but his rage was unmistakable. She's different from you. She's still a university student. If you keep doing this, you'll ruin her. I snorted. I'm not that free. He didn't believe me. He gripped my chin tightly. Clear things up now. Say the video was edited. It was impossible. She had slept with my fiancé, and now she wanted me to clear her name? Just as the argument reached its peak, Yuri suddenly rushed to the balcony, crying. I can't live like this anymore. The balcony was only a meter high. Jumping down would at most sprain an ankle, yet she had the audacity to scream about jumping off the building. Timothy rushed over like a madman, and Yuri hid in his arms, sobbing. People in the campus wall and class group say I'm the mistress. How can I live with that? Timothy immediately picked up his phone, and a few bodyguards entered from outside the door. Before tomorrow's press conference is over, you're not going anywhere. I narrowed my eyes in disbelief. Are you insane? Timothy ignored me and bent down, gently comforting Yuri in his arms. Yuri, didn't you want to go to Disneyland? Don't be sad, we'll go now, okay? Yuri leaned against his chest and hesitantly glanced at me. Timothy, do you think Serena will be angry? He coldly glanced at me. She'll go too. The bodyguards started dragging me out, and I struggled desperately. Timothy didn't even turn around as he embraced Yuri and got into the car. The bodyguards locked me in the highest cabin of the Ferris wheel. He had once promised to take me to see the night view, but now he had locked me in a cage to watch it alone. I lowered my head, slowly pulling a voice recorder from my sleeve. I pressed play, and his voice clearly came through. Take her to the Ferris wheel. Keep an eye on her, don't let her escape. I scoffed and hid the recorder back in my sleeve. I thought the Ferris wheel would start moving again, but it stopped at the highest point. I have a fear of heights, and Timothy knew this. 5 years ago, when I fainted on a glass bridge because of my fear of heights, it even trended online. He had carried me down that time. But now, he had locked me in the sky. My phone vibrated, and a message from Yuri popped up. The picture showed her and Timothy kissing in front of the fireworks castle. It was captioned, "Thank you for giving me my fairy tale. Last year, on my birthday, I begged him for so long to take me to Disneyland, and he frowned and said it was childish. I wanted to see the fireworks and asked him multiple times, but he always called it boring and a waste of time. Now, the things he found childish, he was happily doing with another woman." The phone vibrated again. Another message from Yuri. Timothy bought me milk tea in the restaurant. It's so warm. He was comforting her indoors, while I was trembling in the cold, 100 meters in the air. When they finally let me out, my legs were so weak that I nearly collapsed on the ground. Timothy stood not far away. When he saw my pale face, his brows furrowed, as if something had occurred to him. He opened his mouth to speak and was about to approach me when Yuri suddenly coughed weakly. Timothy immediately turned to support her, not sparing me another glance. The press conference was held at the amusement park because it had a large crowd and would have a good effect. Indeed, the effect was excellent. So excellent that he forgot this was the place where he had once proposed to me. Just like he had forgotten I had a fear of heights when he locked me on the Ferris wheel. The plaza was filled with a crowd of onlookers, and the camera flashes went off non-stop. Timothy's company released a statement yesterday, but it turns out she's the mistress. How shameless, the real girlfriend is sick and yet she comes to steal him. Suddenly, the electronic screen in the amusement park lit up. My face was enlarged 10 times, with the words Serena, the confirmed mistress, flashing across the screen. Photos of Timothy and me, along with countless chat records, scrolled across the screen. Once filled with love, now all those moments were evidence of my deceitful attempts to get close to him. So, he wasn't asking me to explain, he was making me take the fall and subjecting me to public ridicule. The next moment, countless flyers rained down from the sky. People scrambled to grab them, and someone loudly read aloud, "Serena has been a longtime third party in Timothy's relationship." I stood in the center of the crowd, the flyers hitting my face like my pride being ground into the dirt. Timothy had prepared everything in advance. He had chosen this amusement park so that every tourist would become a witness to my shame. As they rode the roller coasters and watched the fireworks, they would think of the shameless mistress. I looked at Timothy, his eyes flickering with guilt for a moment, but it was gone in a flash. Yuri only has 6 months left. What's the harm in you being a mistress for a while? Once she's gone, we can still get married. You know I'm just pitying her. My heart has always been with you. As he said that, he pointed at the Ferris wheel in the distance. He was telling me that if I resisted, my punishment would be to be locked at the top of the Ferris wheel, watched by everyone. With that, he reached out and gently adjusted my collar. Go on. You know what happens to those who don't listen. The crowd raised their phones, and the livestream camera was pointed directly at my face. They looked at me as if I were a monkey about to perform in a circus. In the midst of all the chaos, Timothy suddenly pushed me hard from behind. The mistress is out. Let's get a good look at what she looks like. This bitch should be stripped and paraded through the streets. I stood in the center of the stage, the noise of the crowd deafening. Suddenly, the sound of an engine roared in the distance. Everyone turned around at the same time, and Cyrus, dressed in a red racing suit, walked toward me confidently in front of the crowd. Someone in the crowd immediately recognized him. Isn't that yesterday's F1 champion, Cyrus? Oh my God, he's even more handsome in person than on TV. Cyrus didn't acknowledge anyone. He kicked over the press table and picked me up in his arms. If anyone dares to call my wife a mistress again, I'll make sure you leave here sideways. As he turned to walk away with me in his arms, the entire crowd was left in shock. Cyrus? How could he be here? Wait, did he just say my wife? The flashes of cameras went wild, and the reporters quickly turned their cameras to focus on Cyrus's rebellious face. He held my waist with one arm while the other hand pulled out a ring from his racing suit pocket. Take a good look. I, Cyrus's wife, need to be someone's mistress? The crowd exploded. Yesterday when he won the championship, he said the ring was for his wife. Damn, is she really his wife? No, no, no. If Serena is Mrs. Jean, then what is Timothy? Cyrus is the racing champion, one of the heirs of the Jean group. Could his wife possibly settle for a guy from the Timothy family? The atmosphere shifted drastically. Those who had just been calling me a mistress fell silent. Some quietly deleted their live stream comments, while others began searching through Cyrus's previous interviews. No wonder Cyrus said yesterday that he would give the ring to his wife when he won the championship. Turns out he's really married. He tightened his grip around my waist and leaned down to whisper in my ear, "Don't be afraid, I'm here." Then, he raised his eyes to survey the crowd, arrogant and unrestrained. No one dared to speak because everyone knew, Cyrus. Cyrus. How could a woman whom he cherished and adored possibly be someone else's mistress? At that moment, Timothy rushed onto the stage, pointing at Cyrus and shouting in anger, "Impossible. She's clearly my fiancée. She doesn't even know you." He reached out to grab me, but Cyrus swiftly seized his wrist and tossed him aside. Doesn't know me? Cyrus sneered and pulled out a photo from his jacket, slapping it across Timothy's face. The photo showed young me, wearing a princess dress, standing beside the racetrack, with a young Cyrus around my shoulder. Timothy, Serena and I are childhood sweethearts. We grew up together. As for you, a man who rose only with her hidden financial support, what face do you have to make a scene here? Timothy's face turned pale, his eyes locked in disbelief on me. I took a deep breath and finally spoke. Yes, I lied to you. I'm not just some ordinary girl. I am Serena, the only daughter of the Serena family. 3 years ago, you said you hated materialistic women, and you claimed that your past made you feel inferior. So I hid my identity as Serena to share the hardships with you. The room fell into an eerie silence. Timothy stumbled back, his lips trembling. Impossible. If you were Serena, how could I not have noticed? I looked at him and suddenly smiled, but my eyes were filled with ice-cold bitterness. Because, for your inferiority, I lived frugally with you, riding the subway, eating instant noodles. When your business failed, I secretly sent you money, and even deleted the transaction records so you wouldn't find out. And when I wanted to marry you, I begged my parents for a whole year. Timothy's pupils constricted, and he seemed frozen, like he had been struck by lightning. I stared at him and said each word slowly. They originally disagreed, but I convinced them. I said, Timothy is young and accomplished, and he built himself up from nothing. He's worth entrusting to. I wanted to tell you the truth at the engagement party, in front of everyone. But what did you do? You canceled the engagement and didn't even ask me once. Now, you don't deserve to know my identity. Timothy staggered forward, about to say something, but before he could, Cyrus stepped in front of me, chuckling softly in my ear. Wife, why are you explaining so much to him? A fool like him deserves to be a joke for the rest of his life. Behind us, the crowd's discussions surged like a tidal wave. Oh my God, Serena, the only daughter of the Serena family, pretended to be an ordinary person for him? And he still didn't appreciate it? This guy's brain must have been kicked by a donkey. Timothy stood frozen, his face pale like death. Cyrus sneered and tightened his grip around my waist, looking down at him arrogantly. Timothy, I should thank you. If it weren't for you being so stupid, how would I have gotten what I wanted? Just as the crowd erupted in surprise, Yuri suddenly collapsed onto the ground. Timothy, I feel so sick. Maybe I'm having a relapse. Am I going to die, Timothy? Timothy immediately rushed over to hold her, shouting at me, Serena. Are you happy now? You had to make a scene until someone dies? Yuri is dying. I know you brought Cyrus here to make me mad. I told you before the engagement, you can find someone to accompany you as long as your heart still belongs to me. I forgive you. But right now, Yuri can't die, we have to take her to the hospital. I looked at him, his self-righteous face making me sick, almost wanting to laugh. But before I could say anything, Cyrus was already in front of me. With one hand in his pocket, he smiled wickedly and arrogantly. Timothy, I have an older brother, so I've been wild since I was a child and never cared about the consequences. If you ever speak to my wife like that again, I won't spare you. The whole crowd gasped. Timothy, still holding Yuri, stood motionless. Yuri, who should have been unconscious, suddenly opened her eyes and met Cyrus's gaze, then quickly shut them tight in fear. Cyrus lazily turned his head, snapped his fingers at the bodyguards. Go, take the critical patient, Timothy, and carry him out. Don't dirty my wife's eyes. Just as the bodyguards were about to move, Yuri suddenly sat up with a jolt. Timothy, what's going on? Cyrus sneered and slowly pulled out his phone. Oh, a medical miracle? The next moment, all the big screens in the amusement park suddenly lit up. The first image was Yuri's health checkup report, showing that all her indicators were normal, there was no leukemia. The second image was a record of her spending millions of dollars sending gifts to a male streamer. The third image was of her, disheveled, sitting on the lap of a tattooed man and laughing coquettishly. Timothy stood frozen, as though struck by lightning, and grabbed Yuri's neck. Yuri struggled desperately, holding on to Timothy's hand, trying to explain. "Timothy, let me explain." Cyrus sneered again. "Explain? A poor student? I think you're the top spender in your boyfriend's live stream, huh? Timothy, I suggest you check your account. After all, this terminally ill patient has scammed you out of quite a bit of money." Timothy, as if losing his mind, tried to turn off the screen, but just then, I pressed the play button on my recorder. "Take her to the Ferris wheel. Watch her, don't let her escape." Timothy's voice echoed through every Bluetooth speaker in the amusement park. Cyrus took a step forward, walking up to Timothy's side, and sneered, "Almost forgot. My wife has acrophobia." "Timothy, is this attempted murder?" The crowd erupted in outrage. Damn. He knew Serena had acrophobia. This is murder, isn't it? So vicious. The big screen shifted to show the surveillance footage from the Ferris wheel. I was locked in a cabin 100 meters high, while Timothy was hugging Yuri and kissing her at Disney. Some girls in the crowd started crying and threw snacks at him. "Timothy, are you even human?" Serena passed out on the boardwalk 3 years ago and had to be rushed to the hospital. This was on the news. Timothy's face went ashen. He struggled to explain, but Cyrus didn't give him a chance. Cyrus wrapped his arm around my waist, arrogantly shaking his phone in front of Timothy. "Forgot to mention, I've already called the police. Timothy, just wait for the police to arrive." Then, he pulled me away. On the ground, Timothy finally broke down. He grabbed Yuri, who had collapsed onto the floor. "Why did you lie to me?" Yuri cried, her tears streaming. "Timothy, I only loved you so much. Please forgive me." Timothy violently pushed her away, his voice hoarse. "Love? You faked being sick and poor. Do you know why I helped you? Because I saw myself in you. The poor guy who ate instant noodles and squeezed on the subway. Now that I've made it, I wanted to help others." Yuri tried to grab his hand again, but he shoved her to the ground. "Get lost. Give me back every penny you scammed from me." Yuri attempted to beg for mercy, but the arriving police immediately restrained her. "Yuri, you're under suspicion of fraud. Please cooperate with the investigation." On the other side, the police stopped Timothy. "Timothy, you're under suspicion of illegal detention. Please come with us." At this moment, the air in the car was thick with tension. Cyrus sat coldly beside me, his gaze fixed out the window, not even sparing me a glance. I reached over and poked his arm. "Cyrus?" He snorted, turned around, and faced away from me. I sighed, then leaned over and hugged him from behind. "Are you mad?" His voice was low and filled with suppressed anger. "Ha, Serena is so amazing, she can endure all this bullying and still keep quiet. And what am I? Just some temporary tool dragged in for the act?" I felt a pang of guilt and realized he was truly angry. "I didn't mean to hide it from you, I just wanted to gather enough evidence to ruin them completely." He suddenly turned, grabbing my wrist. "Evidence? Do you have any idea how heartbroken I was when I found out you were being slandered as a mistress right after I got off the plane? Do you know how crazy I almost went when I saw that video of you locked in the Ferris wheel? When you were with Timothy, I thought he truly cared for you, so I let you go. But what's happened now?" He suddenly pulled me into his embrace, his forehead against mine. "If I had known it would be like this, I would have tied you to my side from the beginning. Serena, listen carefully. From now on, if anyone dares to hurt you again, I'll make sure the whole world pays for it." I laughed softly and tilted my head up to kiss him on the lips. "Okay." Timothy, due to the illegal detention charges, was held in custody. Every day in jail, he went crazy thinking about me. The moment I revealed my true identity as Serena, it felt like his heart had been ripped open. He thought back to when I walked with him through the subway, the blisters on my feet. He remembered the sleepless nights when I helped him organize his business plans, my eyes red from exhaustion. He thought of the night his business failed, how I stayed with him, never complaining. But how did he treat me? For a fake sick person, he called off our engagement in public. For Yuri's tears, he splashed cold water on me. Even though he knew I had acrophobia, he locked me in that Ferris wheel. I'm such a fucking animal. He slapped himself hard in the face, and in the darkness, he cried out in pain. After the torment, he finally made up his mind, he still loved me. So, using lawyers and connections, he soon got out of jail. The first thing he did after being released was to desperately search for my whereabouts. I heard that Cyrus took me on a vacation on a cruise, and without saying a word, he immediately chartered a speedboat to chase after us. On the deck, the crowd cheered. When Timothy stumbled onto the scene, this was what he saw. Cyrus arrogantly held my waist, and amidst the crowd's teasing, he loudly declared, "From today, I am Serena's man." The applause was deafening, and fireworks exploded in the night sky, reflecting off my face, which was full of smiles. Timothy stood in the shadows, his heart clenched tightly. He had never seen me like this before. I was smiling brightly, confident, and no longer the Serena who used to suppress her brilliance for his sake. At this moment, Cyrus leaned down and kissed the back of my hand, his eyes filled with unreserved possessiveness. "Wife, how about you call me hubby?" I laughed and punched him lightly, but he caught my wrist and kissed me deeply in front of everyone. The teasing from the crowd grew louder. Timothy suddenly remembered the times when I used to look at him with the same hopeful eyes, and he found it unbearable. I remembered staying up late making soup for him, only for him to say it was a waste of time. I remembered giving up the life of a rich girl to endure hardship with him, only for him to call me materialistic. Timothy had waited in the corner for a long time, finally finding an opportunity. He rushed up to me when Cyrus was caught up with the guests. "Serena, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong." I looked at him, my heart calm and still. When he saw that I wasn't responding, he continued, "I helped Yuri because I saw myself in her. I was so insecure. When I saw her scrimping and saving, it reminded me of myself back then. Give me a chance. I'm willing to do anything." I took a step back, avoiding his touch. "Timothy, do you remember that night when you had a high fever, and I secretly sent you money? You said you hated people giving you charity, but now, here you are, begging for forgiveness. It's even more pitiful than charity. Some wounds can't be healed just by an apology. It's over, Timothy. Please stop bothering me." Timothy shook his head, his voice trembling. "Serena, it will heal. I'll do whatever you want." Suddenly, he became agitated, stumbling backward. "I poured cold water on you before, and now I'll return it to you." Before I could react, he climbed onto the railing and made a motion to jump. "Serena, watch closely. This time, I'll redeem myself." Before the words were even out of his mouth, he jumped into the cold, dark sea. The huge splash startled the guests around us, and someone shouted for help. The scene became chaotic. I stood there, not even furrowing my brow. Cyrus, I didn't even realize when, had walked up to my side and put his arm around my shoulders. Should we send someone to fish him out? I turned around, not sparing the sea another glance. No need. His choice has nothing to do with me. In the distance, Timothy struggled desperately in the sea, but he would never get that one glance back. It was laughable. He thought that jumping into the sea would be redemption. But in reality, it was just another self-pitying performance. Just like back then, he thought his pity for Yuri would make up for the hurt he caused me. He thought jumping into the sea would bring me back, but what he didn't realize was that I didn't care what he did anymore. The day we returned from the cruise, Cyrus and I made our official announcement, and the entire internet exploded. During his live stream after winning the race, he knelt down on one knee in front of the whole world, placing the medal around my neck and arrogantly shouted at the camera, "Serena, I love you to death." The trending topics blew up for 3 days and nights. On the day of our engagement, he booked an entire island and had fireworks that lasted the whole night. While I was trying on wedding dresses, he stood behind me in front of the mirror, his eyes red, hugging me tightly and said, "Serena, I've been waiting for this day for so long." When we took wedding photos, he insisted on having a racing theme. In the middle of the photo shoot, he pinned me against the engine hood and kissed me deeply. The photographer caught every moment, making everyone blush. Everything went perfectly, it was like a dream. As for Timothy, since that night when he was fished out of the sea, he fell seriously ill. Like a rat in the gutter, he hid behind his alt accounts on social media, obsessively spying on my life with Cyrus. He saw Cyrus take me skiing in Switzerland, a trip he had promised me. He saw Cyrus making me brown sugar water at 3 a.m., something he used to call pretentious. He saw Cyrus preparing surprises for me, things he always thought were a waste of money. When he saw our wedding photos, it happened to be on the day we first went on a date. In the photo, I wore the $1 million wedding dress he once said was too expensive and unnecessary, my smile bright and dazzling. Cyrus captioned it, "I've saved up 20 years of tenderness, and I gave it all to her." Timothy lay in bed, trembling as he opened the comment section, and saw someone ask, "Why does Cyrus love Serena so much?" Cyrus replied, "Because she is Serena." Timothy suddenly broke down, smashing his phone. Because she is Serena, because she is the best Serena in the world. Timothy, unable to control himself, decided to make one last mistake. On a rainy night, in an abandoned warehouse, I was tied to a chair. Timothy knelt in front of me, his eyes bloodshot as he stared at me. "Serena, I really know I was wrong. I regret it every day, regret treating you the way I did. I have no way out. I sent you so many messages, but you never replied. Every time I went to find you, Cyrus's people chased me away. I had no choice but to kidnap you. Serena, I just want you to hear me out. Look at me, I've lost 20 pounds, I can't sleep at night." I interrupted him, "What does that have to do with me? The suffering you're going through now doesn't even compare to a fraction of what you made me go through." At that moment, I quickly sent a location to Cyrus. But Timothy seemed to sense it, suddenly lunging forward and snatching my phone away. "You love him that much? What about me? Serena, our 3 years together, is it really so worthless?" He threw the phone on the ground, shattering the screen. Looking at his bloodshot eyes, I knew he had completely lost control. As expected, the next second, he reached out to grab my collar. "If you won't listen to me calmly, then I'll make you remember me in my own way." I picked up a broken piece of metal from the ground, pointing it at him. "Don't come any closer." Timothy stopped in his tracks and pointed at his chest. "Go ahead, stab me here. If my blood can calm you down and make you remember me, then it's worth it." I backed up until my back hit the wall. "I think you're crazy." He grabbed my hand and pressed the metal piece against his shoulder. "Yes, I'm crazy. I've been crazy ever since you said you were going to marry Cyrus." The metal pierced his skin, and blood began to pour out. I struggled to retreat, but Timothy, as if numb to the pain, kept moving forward with the metal piece raised. "Is this enough? Serena, if you're still not satisfied, you can do it yourself." Just then, the warehouse doors were kicked open with a loud crash. I heard Cyrus's furious voice, "Timothy, you're asking for death." Timothy laughed even as he was pinned to the ground, blood and rain mixing into a puddle beneath him. When Cyrus picked me up, my hands were still trembling. He took off his jacket and wrapped it around me, his voice filled with lingering fear. "It's over now. Let's go home." The sound of sirens faded in the distance, and the rain continued to fall. I leaned against Cyrus's chest, listening to his strong heartbeat. This time, it was really over. Timothy was sentenced. On the day of the verdict, Cyrus held my hand tightly the whole time. When the judge read out a 7-year prison sentence, he squeezed my fingers and let out a long breath of relief. When we walked out of the courthouse, Cyrus said to me, "I'm afraid something like this will happen again." As for that Yuri, I've sent her in too. I was stunned. When did this happen? He flashed a cocky smile. Just yesterday. Fraud, instigating crime, evidence is solid. She's looking at 5 years behind bars. It turned out that he had been secretly gathering evidence against Yuri for the past half-month. I turned to walk away when suddenly, Cyrus scooped me up in his arms. A helicopter was parked nearby. I didn't even notice when it had arrived. What are you doing? He opened the helicopter door, smiling widely. Now that we've settled the score, it's time for our honeymoon, wife. I looked up at this man, who was so utterly confident and audacious. This time, I knew I'd placed my bet on the right person.